Most people believe that healing begins in a hospital, but for most of human history, it began in a garden, not in capsules, not in synthetic formulas, not in sterile rooms filled with beeping machines and fluorescent lights, but in soil, roots, leaves, and plants that people once understood intimately, plants they grew, plants they harvested, plants they passed down, not as folklore, but as functional knowledge refined over hundreds of years. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some of the most powerful biological compounds being studied in laboratories today were not discovered in labs. They were observed, used, documented, and handed down across generations, long before we had the tools to explain why they worked, and yet today they're dismissed, called just herbs, called unscientific, or worse, ignored completely. Yeah, but what if that dismissal is costing us something? What if the real story of colon health, of chronic inflammation, of cellular damage, of gut imbalance, has been quietly growing in backyards, fields, and forests this entire time? Because when you start digging into both traditional knowledge and modern peer-reviewed research, something surprising happens. The gap between ancient practice and modern science begins to disappear. By the time we reach one particular plant later in this video, a plant now being studied for its interaction with abnormal cell pathways in the colon, you may start questioning why it isn't part of everyday conversation. And another one, a humble root used in traditional systems for centuries, is now being explored for its direct role in gut lining protection and microbial balance. Look, this isn't about replacing medicine. This isn't about rejecting science. This is about understanding what we forgot. Reclaiming a layer of knowledge that got buried under convenience, processed food, and the assumption that healing is something that only happens in a clinic. Because these plants don't work like drugs, they don't target a single symptom and leave the rest untouched. They work with systems. With inflammation pathways, with oxidative stress responses, with the microbiome, with the very biological environment where colon health either slowly breaks down or quietly begins to recover. So the real question isn't whether these plants matter. The real question is, why did we stop paying attention? 1. The bitter root that quietly targets inflammation, turmeric. Most people think of turmeric as a spice, something yellow, something you sprinkle into a curry and forget about. But historically, it was never treated that way. Across traditional cultures, from Ayurvedic medicine in India to traditional Chinese practice to ancient Middle Eastern healing, turmeric was used with intention, not for flavor, for function. What makes turmeric biologically remarkable is a compound called curcumin. Modern research has studied curcumin extensively, and what's emerging is striking. Studies suggest curcumin may help modulate inflammatory pathways. Specifically, it appears to interact with signaling molecules, like NF-κB, that are involved in the body's inflammatory response. And here's where it connects directly to colon health. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the underlying environmental conditions where colon problems develop. In a not acute inflammation, the kind that heals a wound, but the persistent, smoldering kind that quietly damages tissue over time. Turmeric doesn't attack a single symptom. It works upstream, influencing the signaling environment before damage becomes visible. Now here's something fascinating. Traditionally, turmeric was never consumed alone. It was combined with fats, like ghee or coconut oil, and with black pepper. Modern science now confirms that piperine, found in black pepper, increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That wasn't a lucky guess. That was thousands of years of observation refined into a practice. Today, turmeric can be consumed as a tea, blended into broths, stirred into meals with healthy fats, or taken as a standardized extract. Simple, accessible, and hiding in plain sight. But this is only the beginning. 2. The leaf that rebuilds from the inside, moringa. Most people have never grown moringa. Most people have never even heard of it. But in traditional systems across Africa, South Asia, and parts of Latin America, it was considered a survival plant. Fast-growing in poor soil, drought-resistant, packed with nutrition from root to leaf, and for very good reason. Moringa leaves contain a dense profile of polyphenols, vitamins, and minerals, including compounds that support the body's cellular defense systems. Research indicates these compounds may help reduce oxidative stress, one of the key contributors to cellular damage in the colon. Oxidative stress happens when the body's production of free radicals outpaces its ability to neutralize them. Over time, this damages DNA, disrupts cellular function, and creates the kind of environment where abnormal cellular changes become more likely. Moringa doesn't just add nutrients, it helps regulate the terrain. Historically, it was used to support digestion, sustained energy, and resilience, particularly during periods of scarcity or physical stress. Today, in a world of abundant but nutrient-depleted processed food, moringa may be more relevant than ever. It can be consumed as a powder stirred into water or smoothies, brewed as a tea, or eaten as fresh leaves if you're lucky enough to grow it. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy, but it's foundational. 3. The ancient root that modern research is watching closely. Ginger. Most people reach for ginger when they're already nauseous, when the stomach is already unhappy. But historically, ginger wasn't reactive. It was preventive. Consumed daily, built into meals, treated as a constant rather than an emergency response. Ginger contains bioactive compounds, most notably gingerol, which has been studied for its anti-inflammatory and digestive supportive effects. But the deeper layer is this. The colon doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a vast interconnected digestive system where motility, enzyme activity, stomach acid balance, and microbial health all influence each other. Ginger supports that entire system. It may help stimulate digestive movement, reducing the sluggish transit time that allows waste and toxins to sit longer in the colon than they should. It may also help reduce inflammatory signals within the gut lining itself. In traditional use, ginger was consumed fresh, in teas, tonics, soups, or simply chewed before meals, not as a reaction. As a daily ritual of support. Because in traditional systems, prevention wasn't an optional wellness strategy, it was how people lived. 4. The plant that feeds the microbiome dandelion. Most people see dandelion as a weed, something to spray, something to pull, something that has no business being in a manicured lawn. But historically, it was harvested, used in salads, teas, tonics, and medicinal preparations. Respected, not despite its abundance, but because of it. Dandelion roots and leaves contain compounds that act as prebiotics, meaning they feed and support beneficial bacteria already living in the gut. And this is where colon health becomes more nuanced than most people realize. Because it's not just about removing things, toxins, inflammatory foods, harmful microbes. It's about what you build. Now, a well-balanced microbiome has been associated with improved immune response, reduced systemic inflammation, and stronger gut barrier function. Dandelion was traditionally used to support the liver and digestive system, two systems deeply intertwined with colon function. When the liver is sluggish, digestion slows. When digestion slows, the colon suffers. Today, dandelion can be consumed as a tea, tossed fresh into salads, or roasted as a coffee-like root blend. What was once considered a nuisance may actually be essential. 5. The leaf that calms internal chaos. Peppermint isn't just refreshing, it's functional in ways most people never consider. Traditionally used for digestive complaints across multiple cultures, peppermint contains menthol, a compound studied specifically for its ability to relax smooth muscle tissue in the digestive tract. That matters more than it sounds. When the gut is tense, when smooth muscle contracts irregularly, it disrupts movement, absorption, and microbial balance, and cramping, bloating, irregular transit. Peppermint may help restore rhythm. Research has looked at enteric-coated peppermint oil as a support for people dealing with irritable gut symptoms, with promising results for reducing discomfort. Historically, it was used after meals, consistently, as a simple tea, not occasionally, but as part of daily rhythm. Because not all healing is dramatic. Sometimes it's about restoring a baseline, quietly, consistently. 6. The green that protects at the cellular level. Kale became trendy. But long before it was on the menu of every health cafe, it was survival food, hardy in cold climates, resilient, dense with nutrients that kept people alive through harsh seasons. What makes kale biologically powerful is its content of glucosinolates, compounds studied for their role in supporting the body's detoxification processes and cellular protection mechanisms. When glucosinolates are broken down during digestion, they form bioactive molecules, including sulforaphane, that may help the body manage oxidative stress and support healthy cell cycles. In the context of colon health, this matters significantly. Oxidative stress and disrupted cell regulation are two of the primary factors involved in colon cellular damage. Traditionally, bitter greens, kale, mustard greens, wild chicory, were consumed regularly, not as a trend, not occasionally, but consistently as part of the daily diet. They weren't optional, they were essential. Today, kale can be lightly steamed, blended into soups, or massaged raw in salads. The key is consistency. because the foods doing the most important work behind the scenes are rarely the ones getting attention. 7. The root that strengthens the gut barrier. Licorice root isn't just sweet, it's biologically complex, and historically it was one of the most widely used medicinal plants in the world. Used in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, ancient Egyptian healing, and European herbal practice. Licorice contains compounds, including glycyrrhizin and flavonoids, that may help support the mucosal lining of the digestive tract. Now, this lining is one of the most important and most overlooked structures in the body. It acts as a physical and chemical barrier, protecting the internal environment from pathogens, toxins, and inflammatory triggers. When this lining is compromised, through chronic inflammation, poor diet, or microbial imbalance, the entire system becomes vulnerable. Licorice root has been studied for its potential to soothe and protect this barrier. Traditionally, it was consumed as a decoction, simmered and strained, or blended into herbal formulas. But here's the important distinction. It was never overused. It was dosed with intention. Because even powerful healing plants require understanding and respect. 8. The tiny seed with a big impact flaxseed. Flaxseed is easy to underestimate. Small, plain-looking, inexpensive, but nutritionally, it punches far above its weight. Flaxseed contains 3 things that matter enormously for colon health: soluble and insoluble fiber, supporting regular movement through the digestive tract, reducing the time waste spends in contact with colon tissue. Lignans, plant compounds with antioxidant properties, studied for their potential role in supporting healthy cellular environments. Omega-3 fatty acids, which may help regulate inflammatory signaling throughout the body. Together, these create a layered nutritional support for colon health that few single foods can match. Traditionally, seeds were consumed whole, ground, or soaked, integrated into breads, porridges, and daily meals. Today, adding a tablespoon of ground flaxseed to oatmeal, smoothies, or soups is one of the simplest upgrades anyone can make. No, small in size, significant in impact. 9. The ancient detoxifier. Garlic has been used medicinally for over 5,000 years. In ancient Egypt, in Greece, in China, in Rome. Not primarily for flavor, but for protection. Garlic contains sulfur compounds, most notably allicin, that have been studied extensively for their antimicrobial and immune supportive properties. But here's the direct connection to colon health. The balance of the gut microbiome matters enormously, not just for digestion, but for immune function, inflammation regulation, and even mood. Garlic may help selectively regulate harmful microbial populations while supporting beneficial ones, essentially acting as a natural microbiome modulator. Traditionally, garlic was consumed raw or lightly cooked, not occasionally added to a dish, but present as a constant in daily meals. Because protection wasn't reactive, it was built in, daily, consistently, over a lifetime. 10. The leaf that supports cellular defense. Green tea has been consumed for over 3,000 years, and modern science has spent decades trying to understand why people who consume it regularly seem to fare better across a range of health markers. The answer lies largely in catechins, particularly a compound called EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate. EGCG has been studied for its ability to support cellular protection, reduce oxidative stress, and interact with pathways involved in abnormal cell growth. In relation to colon health, research has explored its potential role in supporting a healthy cellular environment within the digestive tract. Historically, green tea wasn't treated as a supplement you took when sick. It was a daily habit, a cultural rhythm, consumed with meals, after meals, throughout the day. And that consistency, that sustained, low-level exposure over time, is likely where the benefit accumulates. Because in biology, what you do every day matters far more than what you do occasionally. 11. The root that modern science is re-evaluating: burdock. Burdock root has a long history in traditional Japanese, Chinese, and European herbal practice. Used to support detoxification, digestive health, and skin conditions, and now, modern research is beginning to explain why. Burdock contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that selectively feeds beneficial bacteria in the gut, particularly Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus strains associated with colon health. Then it also contains antioxidant compounds that may help reduce oxidative stress within the digestive tract. The colon's health is deeply tied to the ecosystem within it. Burdock supports that ecosystem quietly, consistently, from the root up. 12. The bright flower with deep potential calendula. Calendula is often seen as a garden flower. Ornamental, cheerful, mostly decorative. But in traditional European and Middle Eastern herbal medicine, it was a workhorse plant. used internally and externally for its soothing and anti-inflammatory properties. Studies suggest that calendula's flavonoids and terpenoids may help support tissue health, reduce irritation, and calm inflammatory responses. For the digestive tract, where inflammation and tissue irritation are central issues in colon health, this kind of support matters. Consumed traditionally as a tea or infusion, calendula was used to soothe inflamed mucous membranes throughout the digestive system. The bright flower doing quiet, important work. 13. The leaf that supports blood sugar and inflammation. Fenugreek doesn't get enough attention, but its traditional use spans Indian, Middle Eastern, and North African medicine, where it was consumed as both food and medicine. Research has explored fenugreek's role in blood sugar regulation, and this connects directly to gut and colon health in ways people rarely consider. Unstable blood sugar creates metabolic stress. Metabolic stress drives systemic inflammation. And systemic inflammation creates the kind of environment in which colon health degrades. Fenugreek's soluble fiber content also supports beneficial gut bacteria and helps slow the absorption of sugars, reducing the metabolic load on the body. Traditionally soaked overnight or incorporated into cooked dishes, fenugreek was integrated into daily meals. Not as medicine, as food. And that's exactly the point. 14. The ancient mineral-rich green nettle stings when you touch it, which probably explains why modern people give it a wide berth. But for centuries, it was harvested carefully, boiled, dried, or brewed, and consumed as one of the most nutrient-dense greens available. Nettle is rich in iron, magnesium, calcium, and vitamins, minerals that are increasingly depleted from modern diets. Beyond nutrition, a nettle contains compounds studied for their anti-inflammatory properties, including inhibition of certain inflammatory pathways relevant to gut health. Consumed as a tea, cooked like spinach, or taken as a dried supplement, nettle quietly supports the body's foundational systems, including the gut, including the colon. 15. The plant that changed everything, aloe vera. Most people know aloe for sunburns, for skin, for topical relief, but traditionally the inner gel of the aloe vera leaf was also used internally, carefully in controlled amounts, for digestive health. The inner gel of aloe vera contains polysaccharides and anthraquinones that have been studied for their potential to soothe the digestive tract, support gut lining integrity, and reduce inflammation. Research suggests that aloe vera gel may help calm irritated mucosal tissue and support the regeneration of the gut barrier. And when you think about what colon health fundamentally requires, a strong barrier, a balanced microbiome, reduced inflammation, minimal oxidative stress, aloe interacts with all of it. But here's the essential caveat. Aloe vera must be used correctly. The latex layer, the yellow-green layer just beneath the skin, contains compounds that can be harsh on the digestive system and should not be consumed. Only the clear inner gel, used appropriately, carries the benefits described here. This is the distinction traditional healers understood. Powerful plants are not dangerous because of what they are. They become dangerous when used without understanding. What you've just encountered isn't a list of natural remedies. It isn't a rejection of modern medicine. It is a reminder that ancient people weren't guessing. They were observing. They were testing across generations, across seasons, across lifetimes. They were passing down what worked, not in clinical papers, but in daily practice, in kitchens, in gardens, in the knowledge shared between parent and child. Modern science is now, slowly, seriously, catching up, validating compounds, studying mechanisms, confirming through research what was once simply known through lived experience. And perhaps the most important shift in thinking is this: health doesn't begin when something goes wrong. It begins with what you consistently expose your body to, what you grow, what you consume, what you include in your daily life. Not occasionally, not as a reaction to illness, but as a quiet, ongoing act of support. Every single plant in this video is accessible. Most are inexpensive. Several are growing near you right now, unnoticed. So the question isn't whether this knowledge is valuable. The question is, why isn't it already part of your life? Which plant surprised you the most? Which one are you going to try first? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to keep uncovering the kind of knowledge that was never meant to be forgotten, knowledge that sits at the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern science, then subscribe. Because the next video might completely change how you look at something you use every single day.